Hi, I'm Phil from Arrow, and today I'm going to show you the construction of a Maryland sewing cabinet. So the Maryland's going to come to you in 3 separate boxes, and there's 3 options for colors. There's cherry, like you see here, oak, and white. Now the Maryland opens up to the left and to the right to give you extra sewing space. It has 4 drawers on the right-hand side for storage, and then it has a pneumatic airlift. Put your machine down for storage, bring it up into flatbed position, or up into free arm for any embroidery. There's also an option for a quilt extension on the back here that would raise up, and you can slide it from left to right to give you added sewing room. Now for the construction of the Maryland, the parts you're going to need are a screwdriver, and we recommend a cordless drill that has a screwdriver bit on it, a 10mm wrench and socket wrench, and then a hammer. Now when you open up the boxes, you want to lay out all the pieces on a flat, clean surface to make sure you have you take inventory of everything you have. And then you'll open up your bag of parts. Now this bag has the cams and connecting bolts. So this is what a cam looks like, and this is what a connecting bolt looks like, and we're going to use that for the first step here. So in our first step, we're going to put in all the connecting bolts into all the pieces that we need them to go into, and we're going to put in all the cams in the second step, and we're going to do this all in one step here. So on the top part A, B, and C, there's going to be 5 connecting bolts. On the right side panel E, we're going to have 4 connecting bolts, and we're going to have 2 cams, as you see here. Disregard these. We're going to put these in a later step. We just have them pre-assembled. And then on left side D, we have 6 connecting bolts and 2 cams. And back here on panel F, this is the partition panel. Again, disregard the drawer runners. We're going to have 4 connecting bolts on one side, and we're going to have another 6 connecting bolts on this side, and the 1 cam would go right there. And I'll show you how the cam goes into the piece. You insert the cam with your finger and make sure that the arrow is pointed towards the edge that has the hole in it. So you want the arrow pointed towards the hole. You can press it with your finger, or if you need, you can use a hammer to hammer that in. So that's the partition F. Next, the back panel G has 4 cams in it. Then the panel H, which is the compartment back, is going to have 4 cams. The next one is shelf part I, which will have 4 cams. And then the compartment back J, part J, is going to have 4 cams as well. Lastly, part N, which is the front, you'll see has 4 cams. Again, make sure that the arrow is pointing towards the edge where the connecting bolts will go into. Okay, also note on step 2 that we're going to insert the insert hook here. This is part D. This is the left side panel. So what you want to do is you want to find the insert hook in this bag as well as the white plastic piece. You're going to want to put it in the top hole because the top hole allows for a longer insert. As you can see, this is the insert. The higher up it is, the longer the insert that could fit in the cabinet. So we want to put it in the top hole and then use a hammer to hammer it in. Now in step 3 in your manual, we're going to attach the magnet piece, and this is what's going to keep the door from popping open. So you want to find the magnet, which is in the bag you see here, and there's also the 2 screws that go with the magnet. You'll see here, these are the gold or the brass colored screws, and they got the pan head. Those are the ones we're going to use. So when you attach the magnet to part F here, you want to make sure that it is flush against the edge of the panel here. You might even have a little overhang with the metal piece. That's just fine because you want the door magnet to catch on just like that. So that's step 3. Now in step 4, I'm going to flip this over and show you the attachment of the drawer runners here. I have these pre-attached. They're going to come in the box just like this, so take them out, and you put in 4 screws with your screwdriver in each one of the drawer runners. So there's going to be 16 screws all together. Make sure not to over tighten these screws too much. You can have them loose just a little bit. If you tighten them too much, the drawer might have trouble running. So you might want to keep those a little bit loose so that the screw head is flush with the drawer runners. We're also going to do it over here on panel E. Again, there's going to be 16 screws for 4 drawer runners. There's also going to be the drawer catch here. Now we're going to put this in here, and this one again we want to keep this a little bit loose, so you tighten it up all the way and maybe back it out about 180 degrees to maybe even 360 degrees, so that way this is nice and loose so it'll catch the drawer and not pull out all the way. Last, put in the little metal dowels in each one of the holes right next to the drawer runners. Step 7, what we're going to do is we're going to take the door, part O, and we're going to assemble all of the components to go along with it. So first find all 4 trays. There's going to be 3 small ones and 1 large one. And then find your 8 by 1/2 inch brass pan head screws. And we're going to put 4 screws in each tray with your screwdriver. And make sure that the large tray is on the bottom. Next, we're going to find the bag that had the magnet in it, and we're going to find the strike plate like that, and it has the screw in there as well. And we're going to attach the strike plate to the door as well right there. Lastly, you want to find your hinges, and the hinges are going to look like this, or they may look like this. Either way, find your hinges with the screws inside. For the hinges like this, there's going to be 3 hinges as opposed to 2 like you see here.
Hi, we've made a change to our door hinges on our Sonatra, Bertha, and Maryland cabinets. They used to come with 2 hinges, but now they come with 3 hinges that look like this. And the configuration, when you open the door, again, there's 3 hinges now, and they're going to wrap just like that onto the door. There are pre-drilled holes for all screws. There's also a screw on the inside here.
On step 8, you're going to want to find your leaf supports, part K and part L. You're going to want to attach the hinges. Now the hinges you will find again in the bag by themselves with their own screws. So find the hinges, find the recessed edge of the opening for the screws, make sure that that is facing upward, and put 2 screws per hinge and 2 hinges per leaf support, and you're going to put them on both K and L. Next, you want to find your magnets. This circle magnet here that you have in this bag, so you pull that out, and then you're going to want to hammer that in. Now I use a block of wood, you could probably use cardboard too, just to make it easier when you hammer that in. Lastly, find your rubber bumper. Now the rubber bumper kind of is deceiving. There's actually 2 in here, even though it looks like it's 1, it breaks in half. So find both of those, and you want to put them on the top of the leaf support, and you want to put it on the furthest edge away from the magnet, so it looks just like that. For the oak and the cherry Maryland, it's going to be a black rubber bumper. For the white Maryland, it's going to be a white bumper. Okay, in step 9, we're going to get panel F, and you want to find your casters with the caster clips and the caster inserts like you see here. So what I do to make it easier on myself is I kind of hammer in the caster clips a little bit so it looks like that. So you kind of have a head start. And then you take this, part F, and you hammer in the clip and the caster insert, like this. Do it for both of them. So again, hammer it in first to get it in there nice and easy. And then put it on here. And go ahead and hammer that in. Then for the casters, now the front part is going to be this side here, so we want to put the locking caster on the front. So what I do is I just push it down by hand. You may need to hammer it in, it may be kind of difficult. So with the non-locking caster in the back, I will show you how to do that. I have a nice little piece of wood here that I put in between the caster wheels, and it helps me hammer that into place. Now, we're going to continue this step by grabbing the back panel G, which we have already assembled here, and we're going to attach it to part F, and we want to line up the cams and the connecting bolts. The connecting bolts go in the little hole on the side of the panel, and then it'll go into place. Then you take your screwdriver and you tighten up the cam about 180 degrees. You may get a little more than 180 degrees. That's just fine. You want to tighten it up all the way until it's completely tight. Now, we're going to grab our part N, which is the front, and we want to attach it. Now, we want to make sure that the cams are facing backwards. You don't want to see the cams on your cabinet, so we're going to put that on like this. Again, tighten the cams here. About 180 degrees will do it. The last, we're going to grab the piece I here, and you want the cams to be facing towards the bottom, and you want the taped edge to be forward. You don't want to see the rough edge. That should go on the back. So, put it into place. 2 twists of a cam should set it, and we're all set for the next step. Okay, in step 10, what we're going to do is we're going to attach the caster to part F here. This is the partition, and then we're going to attach it to the rest of the cabinet assembly here. So again, hammer it in so there's a little nub sticking through, and then put it into the hole that is designated to go into. And then push or hammer in the caster. That is the non-locking caster. You don't want that to lock. Now we're going to put this on to the rest of the cabinet. You want to make sure that the magnet is towards the front and it is down. You want the drawer runners to be up. So we're going to guide this into the holes, like you see. And then you want to give it a good push to make sure all the connecting bolts were seated properly. Now the last part of this step is we're going to tighten all 6 of the cams. There's 2 cams here. There's 1 cam here, 1 here, and then there's 2 cams on the back of part N here. For step 11, what we're going to do is we're going to find our part H, and we're going to seat it onto the cabinet assembly with the cams facing forward this time. The cams are going to face forward because the drawers are going to go in here and cover this up, so you won't see the cams. So 2 cams to tighten up on this part here. Now I'm going to grab part J, and I'm going to seat it onto the assembly part here and tighten up the 2 cams at the bottom. Now in step 12, you want to find part right side panel E and get the casters, and you want to insert the casters through the caster clips and into the caster inserts like we did before. Make sure when you're putting them in, you put them on the side that doesn't have the cams. The cam holes are for the connecting bolts, so there'll be no cams down here. This is the bottom. You want the locking caster towards the front and the non-locking caster towards the back. And now we're going to attach that to the cabinet assembly. Now a couple of cams popped out, that's not a problem. We'll just pop those right back in once we turn this right side up. So tighten this up. We have 2 cams to tighten up on part H and 2 cams to tighten up on part J. Once that is done, we can move on to our next step. To do the next step, we're going to have to flip over the cabinet, so my lovely assistant Joe is going to help me here. So we're going to bring it up and try not to put very much stress on the casters, and then set it down just like that. For step number 13, we're going to add the leaf supports. So there's leaf support L and K. I'm going to attach leaf support L. Now you're going to find the hinges for the leaf supports already attached. They were in this bag here. So you'll find the rest of the screws in there, and then go ahead and attach it. There's 4 screws, 2 per hinge. Find the pilot holes and guide the screws in for all 4 screws. Then, further on in this step, you're going to find the magnet plate that goes along with the circular magnet, and we're going to attach that to this tiny little hole here. And we're going to use a real thin headed screwdriver because the screw is very small. So we're going to put it in like that and attach it. Next step is step 14, where we attach the top to the cabinet assembly. So Joe is going to help me here again. And what you want to make sure is you have the smaller opening on the right hand side and the larger opening for the machine on the left hand side. So with 2 people being a lot easier, you can guide the connecting bolts into the holes they go. There's 5 connecting bolts, 5 cams. I give it a good push on both sides to make sure that everything is seated properly. And then we're going to grab our screwdriver and we're going to tighten up all the connection cams.